Back to Campus podcast with Rajneil Kamath.
My marketing professor was not very happy, and I got 50 on 100 in my marketing exam, whereas I've already started a marketing company for over 3 years. But that those ironies or oxymorons are still something that live with me forever.
And that's Pratik Gupta, the co-founder of both FoxyMoron and Zoom Media Network. Essentially, he's a digital entrepreneur who has been successful in scaling enterprises in both the Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 domain. At the age of 19, Pratik launched his first agency, FoxyMoron, which served as the beginning of his career. He didn't stop there. Pratik went on to develop Asia's largest independent media network, Zoom Media.
Hi Pratik, thank you so much for joining us on Back to Campus, where we explore your days in school and college and how it helped you shape who you are. I wanted to start by asking you, you began your first company at 19. So did you go to college or did you run a company? Or did you do both?
Hi Rajneil, thank you firstly for having me. I did both. The only thing that I did to aid the fact that I had to go to college was we took an office close to our college in Port, because we were anticipating that it'll be easier to hop, skip, and jump back from college to work and work to college. But really, we spent 90% of our time at work and very little time in college. But we managed somehow, and we've done not far too badly.
How did you meet the attendance criteria? Then your professors must have been wild.
Listen, this hustle culture doesn't just start one day. Okay, it usually starts in college, where you figure how to get it done, and the real secret formula is less time, high impact. Whenever you're in college, whenever you're in class, high impact is the answer. Always ensure they know who you are, they know they've heard you, they know that you have a sharp, smart mind that they can always count on, and then this attendance and all takes care of itself, and it always helps to even do a lot of extracurricular activities, because if you win a few outside, then you can say I have been practicing all year round. So I use a lot of such tactics to get by, and I did.
So, for the people who are going to be listening, what are the top 3 or 4 things they can do to hustle? You did mention a few of them, but according to the top 4 things that can definitely help you not be in college and yet score all the brownie points.
Make very good friends with the people who sit right up in front. Okay, that's critical to your existence, right? If these people know you, if they like you, then they will help you with attendance, they will help you with what the teacher wants you to tell them, they will help you with the notes right before the exam. This is college life 101 if you want to make it, right? The people who sit in the front need to be your best friends. That's one. Second is, like I said, less time, high impact. Even with teachers, even with your seniors, even with your classmates, it's not the amount of time you spend with them, it's the amount of impact that you're able to generate over there. So whenever I attended classes or was forced to attend classes, I always ensured that the teacher knew who I was and knew that that I'm not faffing around or not having too much fun. Uh, Third is, extracurriculars is a great way to get yourself out of lots of things, right? Because you have to practice and do it well, and all of those things. So attendance always takes care of itself. And I think these are the 3 things that are critical. And the fourth thing is, obviously know the right people in the college, who always call you up and tell you, boss, come now, otherwise this is not going to go down well. So that's what I had, all 4 of these covered, and my office was fairly very close to college, so I always ran back, sometimes in inappropriate clothing, but I knew the right people to get by.
Nice. So tell me, you were clearly a backbencher, and there's this often the concept, or the belief that it's backbenchers who ultimately shine. So even though you knew the people who were on the first bench, how would you look at that notion?
No, see, I think this is a great story that I've read fairly often, and now it's come down on Instagram, and which is the validation of the story as Instagram Reels. But the most elite Australian forces, they have a certain criteria for selection, and the criteria for selection is that if they've never failed, they can never be a part of this team. Because for people who've always succeeded, how they deal with failure is a you know is a coin toss, right? Like some people take it well and some people will not, and it's almost a 50-50 as to how people will respond. But people sitting at the back, I think, they always know how to deal with things, right? And in this day and age where EQ is, if not more important than IQ, uh, I think that being a backbencher gives you the right kind of skills to survive. And then when you survive, you start to get good and great at certain things. And that's how your trajectory starts, right? Whereas uh, people who mostly sit up front, like only know one way to succeed, which is to be right at the top, which is not how all cards are dealt to you. Which is why I think this notion is fairly very true, and a lot more people from the backbenches make it versus fewer from the front. Not taking anything away from them, their dedication to what they do is phenomenal, but it's just basic survival, I guess, that separates us from the people in the front.
Got it. Also, like, did your classrooms have like two doors, one in the front, one at the back, where you could easily escape and get out? Was that how?
They had high windows, which we were often caught jumping off because the food in the canteen was damn bloody good. And we were hungry kids who were always playing and doing other things. So we always give attendance and run out of class, and lots of teachers have caught us midair. Uh, but we had great long jump and high jump skills to run.
You were in Sydenham, so it was like, I mean, were there multiple floors? Because I can't imagine you jumping beyond the certain.
No. The windows used to open up into the corridors. Not like you didn't have to jump. Yeah, there were multiple floors. Even I studied in Bombay.
Got it.
There, everything is vertical.
Right.
Yeah. So no. So we used to jump right into the corridors and run. You put your bag on top of your head so you can't be recognized, and you have to carry bags which cannot be distinguished from the other. That was the rule.
Okay, thank God. I was in DU, and the only windows we had when if you were on the first, second floors, you jump straight onto the playfield.
No such Delhi things.
Yeah, we didn't have a window. We had back doors, so that's how we used to escape. But then, I mean, you obviously started your entrepreneurial journey then. You had good friends in the front. You were doing extracurriculars. How supportive were your professors? Did they appreciate what you were doing, or they were like, "Arey, ye dekho, overachiever, log college nahi aana chahte." What was that attitude like when you told them what you were doing?
I think I told them fairly late. Like, I think when we started Foxy back in 2008, it was supposed to be a summer project, right? Like, it was like, I don't want to do an internship. And like, one of my business partners, his family is that of a lawyers, and he basically made us sign a partnership deed, which legitimized a lot of things, right? But our intent was, we'll finish the summers and come back to class and pretend like nothing happened, having gained a little bit of experience. That was all. So for the first year, like, we were fairly clueless, had no business plan, or had no like mad ambition on what we want to do. We just wanted to learn, and we had a few like gigs, for the lack of a better word, that were coming our way, that we pulled together. And entrepreneurship was also not this sexy back in 2008 like how it is today.
Right.
So it was not like it was something that everybody like ogled at you and said, wow. People mostly looked at you and said that, shit, this guy's damn bloody stupid. He's probably going to get a very secure job, but he's going to go out there and try something on his own. Only when we started doing relatively well in the third year of college, I think my professor started to find out. I was never giving up this information voluntarily to anybody. I still don't. It's just not how I'm built. But they started finding out. Some of them were very supportive. I used to go back to them with a lot of the problems that we were facing at the workplace, and realize that they have not had so much of workplace experience themselves. So a lot of those questions were theoretically answered, but practically very far from the truth. And some of them really, did not appreciate the fact that we were trying to, like really go outside of our comfort zone because we were skipping class and we were not being in class. So I had those three idiot moments myself, and all that has happened. Like, so I have seen both sides of the ecosystem. My marketing professor was not very happy, and I got 50 on 100 in my marketing exam, whereas I've already started a marketing company for over 3 years. But
Yeah.
that those ironies or oxymorons are still something that live with me forever.
You obviously started with friends, but outside of that core friend circle who were also your co-founders, how did your peers look at it? I mean, were they also like, was it a sense of, oh, look at these guys, overachievers, बहुत ज़्यादा कर रहे हैं college में, or were they equally supportive?
No, they were very excited for us, right? A large part of our first few people who worked with us were people who believed in us. A lot of our work came from, friends and families of friends, and that entire circle is very underrated, right? Like for us to, we knew the people we knew because of the people we hung out with, or whatever small network our parents had or had exposure to. And they were very encouraging of the fact that we were trying to do something on our own. Also, we came from a place of no fear, right? Like, I mean, at 19, what the hell do you have to lose? Like a couple of years at
Right.
best. But, like we were constantly told that there's so much more that we will gain, that, we will never have to worry about the things that we've lost. So that whole peer circle was damn bloody encouraging. Yeah, some of our best employees came from there. Some of our best clients came from there. Some of our first clients came from there. So I have a lot to thank them for. And they would make fun of us. Yes, of course. In college you're the butt of any joke that's available to anybody to make. So we got a lot of that. But you take it in your stride. You have fun with it. Like, we used to make fun of ourselves at some points in time, but uh, fortunately we were always better than average. So like, this overachiever tag was not a burden on us. It's something that we carried for a large part of our lives. So it was fun, and it was also scary to stand true to the tag because you've been associated with it for so long. But mostly, like,
Right.
the whole ecosystem around us was very, very helpful, and I can't be more grateful to them.
You started in 2008, 2009, where I think less than 100 million people in India were online. We barely had even 3G. We were still on these dial-up connections. So how did you get the idea and the kind of foresight to realize how big this was going to be? Was it something you started learning about in school and college, or was this something outside of it?
We wanted to do advertising, Rajneil. Like digital was nowhere on our radar. Uh, One of my co-founders, was a guy who could make websites. So websites became one
Right.
thing that we took to market. Not even market. We took to our social circles and said, if you need a website, we'll help you make a website. Uh, that's how far digital was back in 2008, right? To have a good HTML website, and if you wanted the sexiest of them all, you had a Flash website, right? Which took 67 years to load. But you were damn
Right.
happy when that whole website opened up. So on that dial-up connection that most of us had, and just about getting into the whole 3G world, digital was not our vision. Our vision was communications and advertising, right? We always wanted to be in communications and advertising. Uh, Digital became a natural medium that we gravitated towards because we were of that age, who had seen, the offline world and were transitioning very, very smoothly into that online world. Uh, our generation was that in betweeners. We know the relationship between a cassette and a pencil, and we also know what a floppy drive looked like, and what a floppy disk did, right? And were the people who were creating the whole internet economy. So we were sitting right at the middle. A large part of our differentiators were coming from our ability to execute digital campaigns, which were not even campaigns back then. It was just, oh, इनको Facebook समझ में आता है, oh, इनको Instagram समझ में आता है. It was more like, I will much rather trust a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old to do computer related things. It was not even internet or digital then, as opposed to a 40-year-old who doesn't understand anything apart from how to type things on a keyboard. So that was our advantage, and we legit just catapulted on our advantage and kept building digital capabilities. So digital was not our vision, it was a pivot in today's startup terms. And
Got it.
and we've just done well from there.
So, obviously you figure out the pivot and you moved into digital. A lot of your journey reminds me of what a lot of students in Gen Z folks are like today, right? They're working and they're studying. They're influencers, creators. They're earning millions, many of them. How did you manage your time between college, between studying? Like, if you had exams and your client wanted to do a campaign, what did you tell them? You were studying, or did you manage to do both, or how did you go about it?
Rajneil, honestly, at least when I passed out, Indian education was not very challenging, right? Like you could spend like half a day or a day at best, right? So I remember I used to always take 1 week off during the exam. I think 2 days before my first exam and 1 day to recover after my exam. And usually the exams used to get over on Friday, so you take the Saturday, Sunday off and be back to office on Monday. So I'd usually take those 7 to 8 days off, and it was very manageable. Yeah, like I didn't do badly with my books ever in life. Uh, I was always in the top 10, top 15. It was not very difficult to be there, really. It was not about time management. I spent 95% of my time working and 5% of my time studying. But it's also because of the institutions that we passed from before we hit college, right? Like I honestly didn't think that college was very challenging, so it was all right for me. I didn't really have to do too much to manage my time, and I spent most of my time just working. But today's generation has so many more options. I don't think we had so many options, even though it seems like I am now talking like the 60-year-old uncle who said that back in my generation. But back in our generation, there was not much to do. Uh, but yeah, today the options are aplenty, and managing time is one of the biggest life skills that everybody needs to have. And I think we just developed it nice and early.
I think we're the same generation, so I also feel like a dinosaur many times. Uh, it's
Absolutely
when I look at young people today, I'm like, man, I wish I was doing this when I was at that
correct.
age.
Correct.
I often also keep contemplating where I would have been if I did a lot of those things. I don't know.
Yeah.
In your case, I think you've already seen it play out. But when I think of my college days, and I'm like, man, I wish I had done this. One of the very things like, at least I wish I knew was my habit of saving, my relationship with money, knowing what to do with it. Right? When you started off and when you started earning, did you what kind of emphasis did you place on money, and when it did start coming in, what did you do with it? How did it change you at all, or did you figure out something that you now would like to tell other people as well?
So no, actually, I had a very poor relationship with money. Like money is one of the factors that never motivated me. Like, and I used to always be like, okay, money can basically get me freedom to continue to be fearless. And now, fairly recently, have I started to realize the importance of being a lot more financially aware and a lot better with my money. See, fortunately, unfortunately, Rajneil, we have invested all the money that we've ever made back into this organization, right? So it started off with Foxy. Now we're a network of about 12, 13 agencies called Zoom Media. We're self-funded. We don't have any investors. We have no debt. So majority of all the money that I have ever made has continued to grow and fuel the growth of this one organization that Suvir and I have built together. So uh, a lot of our money has been invested back here. And apart from that, I was fairly poor with my money. I like investing in businesses. I made a couple of poor investment decisions. I I lost a little bit of money, but recently it become a lot better with my money. Like in terms of I now understand how I want to distribute my money across different asset classes, about how investing that money and allowing that money to grow while I sleep. All these cool Instagram reels. Are now an important part of my life as well. But I think I learned it the hard way, and I keep telling even my parents that I think I got away fairly cheap because I made these mistakes nice and early, and most importantly, I made these mistakes for myself, and
Right.
I'm better for it today. So today I'm a lot better. I will invest in a couple of businesses. I do invest in like equity funds and mutual funds and stuff like that. But I like to do it closer to things that I understand a lot more, which is businesses and growing businesses. So a large
Right.
portion of my money still goes in investing in other businesses, and that's how I deal with my money.
How do you rationalize that though, in the sense that you think of, I mean, if you had a choice, would you say I'd rather invest this in my own business or should I be investing it in another business? Like, at what point do you try and draw that line?
So, I mean, I have been like my priority is to invest it back into my business, right? Because uh, our hit rate has not been bad at all, right? Like all of the businesses that we've invested in, or I mean, a majority of the businesses are profitable, are self-funding. So we have been cash flow positive from from fairly early on in the business cycles, right? So it doesn't seem like a bad thought of continuing to want to invest in the business itself because you see greater returns over a long period of time like we have, right? Today when we have valuation exercises, today when people are willing to invest, I could have never made that kind of money investing it outside. But I understand diversification is important, but priority is still continuing to be zoo, and then whatever is left, then you look at how you want to distribute it, and whether you get excited by the idea or the entrepreneurs who are running it. Then that's the second layer. But I mean, it's always been a priority to grow zoo, and even though it seems like a very lopsided portfolio, it's not really a portfolio, right? Like it's what I've invested the last 15 years of my life with. So it's a controlled risk as opposed to me investing anywhere else. The locus of control is more outside than inside. That's how I see it.
You are listening to the Back to Campus podcast with Rajneil Kamath.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the thinking around Zoo? Because now it's kind of become this umbrella entity which has a whole bunch of agency brands under it. You seem to know how to manage your time really well, but 7 brands managing them itself can be quite a task.
So, no. Firstly, like if you speak to all the people who work with me, they will tell you otherwise in terms of my time management skills. But no. So the idea of Zoo came back from the fact that we were to sell to a network, a global network, uh, fairly early in our careers, and we had two exiting partners, which created a lot of reasons for us to not eventually sell to that network. But we were engaged or in bed with that network for almost 4 years. And while we
Right.
were still working with them, we started to realize that uh, the way advertising networks have been structured in the past may not necessarily hold true for how advertising networks have to structure themselves in the future. This is primarily because a lot more specializations and the best people in those specializations were required. So to give you context, right, like agency businesses are cash flow businesses which require certain clients to sign up for you to invest a certain money behind that vertical. Let's say we had a video team of 15 people. This video team could produce video content, but was it the best video team in the country? Absolutely not. Because I would get 2 to 5 crore rupees worth of video work, and you'd invest 60, 70, 80 lakh rupees of salary cost, a crore rupees of overhead cost, and say, okay, cool. Now this, 2 crore rupees of cost can service 5 crore rupees of video work. But was it the best in class? No, it wasn't, which is what brought together the idea of Zoom Media, where we wanted to either home grow agencies because we know how to do it, or to invest in agencies by acquiring them or doing joint ventures with agencies who are hyper specialized, right? And therefore creating a network of agencies where clients wanted to enter the network and work with multiple agencies inside of that network. Um, and more importantly, the things that brought the entire network together is what we call the purpose of the network, which is, across social commerce, across Web3, across, conversion rate optimization, across regional content via Naya Bharat or social commerce, right? So these purposes make these agencies work together. And the values that we hold, which we call Ice Cube, right, which is uh, integrity, which is empathy, which is the ability to create new things. we've documented all of these and built this network to service the brands of the future. Uh, and yeah, I mean, and that's what I think our vision was fairly clear. And our vision was also to work with like-minded people to build something bigger than Foxy or bigger than one agency. And I think that we've spent the last 5 years, 4.5, 5 years, tirelessly doing that, and we've been fairly successful at it. And when you're so passionate about being able to do something, taking India to the West as opposed to the West always coming to India, I think time management happens on its own, or poor sleep management happens on its own. I guess one of the two.
Do you sleep more now, or did you sleep more when you were in college?
I sleep more now because I think the intensity of the stuff that I do in the 10, 12 hours that I work is far more tiring than the intensity of what I would do back in college. And also, I think I was much younger. The body was so much happier putting in those hours. Like I could do a all nighter and not cry about it when I was 25, 26. Now I think my body sends me text messages every hour saying, "Boss, go to sleep." If I even attempt it. So I think it's a little bit to do with age, but also the intensity of the work that I do as opposed to previously.
So you're effectively getting more sleep now, which is good. I felt like I slept well when I was a baby, and now I've stopped sleeping completely. I'm envious of other babies when they sleep
Yes.
as much. So it's
Yes.
good to know that you're getting.
So I'm sleeping a lot more. The quality of sleep is still questionable.
Ah, you're not wearing any of those rings or trackers or anything.
No. Listen, like I'm actually fairly a very simple boy like that. I have no such fancy. I need this routine. I need to write this in my calendar. I'm a free flowing, easygoing kind of a guy who lives life just trying to ensure that I do justice to the potential that I think I have. That's it. I have no more fancier claims to want to build something, be someone. No, I just want to have fun in what I do. So none of these rings, shings, and all for me.
Yeah, I mean, now everyone's trying to hustle and biohack and whatnot. I'm going to admit and say I'm one of them.
Okay.
But yeah, I pretend rather. Let me put it that way.
No, I can't. I don't have the attention span to do it.
I mean, I've only gotten to doing it as much. But you mentioned that you'd started Foxy with friends. What is it like to work with friends, and what is the one upside and the one downside of that?
It's a very
According
key relationship to have to balance. At very soon you start to. I think initially when you start to work with friends, you have to understand that your relationship and more importantly your expectations from them are very different when you're inside a workplace and very different when you're outside a workplace. When you're younger, those lines are very, very blurry, but as you keep growing up you start to understand that you need to be able to distinguish my friend as my friend as and my business partner as my business partner, and also a lot of the people who have become business partners, right? So I think you keep hearing everybody say that it's very important to invest in the right kind of people. And I'm of a strong
Right.
belief that you can't know if the person is right or wrong unless you know the person like a friend at the very least, right? Because that's when
Right.
the true emotions, that's when the true character of that person comes through. So I've been very fortunate to have surrounded myself with people who we have grown together in this journey to really appreciate and create this very it's a very difficult balance to maintain, a balance of friendship and a balance of you know being my work wife or my work husband or whatever else you were to call it, right? And this balance is something that both parties need to contribute to. It's very, very difficult to do. I think that it is one of my personal strongest suits, right? Like I tend to cross it sometimes, I tend to to make it sometimes, but I'm able to build that balance with people I work with, and therefore build trust, faith, and ability to go beyond delivering just what your work is asking you to deliver, because you feel like you owe it to them to be able to do justice to the promises that you made to each other. So it's very, very hard to do, but I think that I've managed a fairly good balance. So I won't recommend it to all, but if it works, it really pays you back very, very high dividends.
I agree with the last point you said. I've been an entrepreneur in India. I fully agree. I wanted to ask you this. You are obviously sleeping more, but I also know that you take an hour and a half to read every day. Is this a newfound habit? Is this something you've been doing?
No, it's I mean, and read is a very broad term, right? Like I need to know what the hell is going on in the world because like I have a ridiculously curious mind. So when you say read, it's not like I open one book and I start to read it every day and I finish 70 books in a year and stuff like that. It's the fact that I need to read everything from the world news to why NASA has developed this telescope to what is happening in Taiwan to why is China trying to build another port in some other place to why the Maharashtra politics is the latest season of a new political drama that should be made. I want to know. It's just how I'm built, right? Like I spend copious amounts of time reading about technology, reading about human behavior, reading about like world news, and I also spend time reading books in general or reading white papers in general. It's just my way of slowing down, right? So every day I think is so intense that I spend a decent amount of time trying to do other things that just slows my brain down. And reading about different things is just one way of hacking my own brain.
And you did this when you were in college as well?
I was always that kid who knew everything, who friends came to and said, "Boss, why is this happening in Kashmir and why do you think this is happening in south of India?" Yes, I was that child who just knew it because I think my dad is like that. He's a Chalta Firta news channel, and like I think he just put that worm in me to always want to know these things, and I continue to play this Chalta Firta news channel role in hundreds of people's lives. So after 10 days of the Russia Ukraine war, 7, 8 people from office, 5, 6 of my friends will text me saying that, listen, for the last 10 days, everyone is saying Russia, Ukraine, what is going on? And then I will make one voice note and I will send it to 10 people and I say, Sab samajh lo, this is what it is, don't ask further questions. So it's just how I'm built.
Hey, I'd love to listen to these voice notes. Like, you should make it available to everyone else, man. This would be so good. Right?
No, these are voice notes which have lots of explicits because none of these people read the newspaper, which annoys me every day. So this ranges from people in office to my sister to my best friends and everybody. And I just be like, dude, why? Why can you not be people who just know what the hell is going on? And why do you all have to only know these conversations because you have to sound socially smart? And most people tell me this. In a conversation, I should know enough to not sound dumb. So I give lots of galis to them. So that's why these voice notes can never be made public.
Sorry. I want to make a very shameless plug over here.
Yes.
Which is saying that if you'd like people to know what's going on and sound smart in a social conversation, you should definitely be reading The Signal, which is basically a daily business, tech, finance, economy, policy newsletter. And it will not take you more than five minutes.
I did. I think it has made my Flipboard um, at some point. Like a couple of articles have reached my Flipboard, but I will also now properly subscribe to it.
It's nice to meet a fellow Flipboard person, by the way. I think it's one of the most underrated apps.
100%.
But, I also think my Flipboard habit came when I got my first iPad. Right? It just seemed like the most natural app at that time to kind of flip into. But I know we've almost run out of time, so I'm going to kind of start winding down. What is the one thing you do now, or you know now, which you wish you knew when you were in college?
Rajneil, like I'm one of those people who really believe that a sequence of events that happen all through your life makes you believe that I wish I knew this earlier. But really, in most cases, if you didn't know this earlier, is because you were not ready to know this information at that point in time, or you were not even ready to digest this information. The only thing that I want to reprofess in any word, in any way possible, is that uh, the journey is genuinely the more important part of the destination than the destination itself, right? Like lots of times I've reached that end goal where I thought that, like 5 years from today, this is where I want to be. And I look back and then you create another goal for yourself. But really what stays back is the journey that you have taken on. And the journey teaches you things that you are ready to learn at that juncture. So really just, open your arms to the world and allow yourself to flow into this journey. And usually you will be taken very good care of, right? Like how the universe conspires to do this, sometimes I don't know. But whoever has just accepted the journey has come out to be at least a better person, if nothing else. So really, nothing that I know today would have been possible if I didn't commit to the journey. And there is not one thing that stands out
Right.
for me to know differently than any time else.
I think that's a good message. And if there was one thing from your college life that you could do now, or you wish you could go back to, what would that be?
Oh, I loved doing all of the extracurricular activities, man. Like it just like I think a large part of the reason that both Suvir and I have been successful at what we do today in communications and advertising is because we gave every extracurricular activity a shot. Fun fact, Suvir and I first properly met because we went to Lahore together on a train journey from Delhi to Lahore.
Wow.
And we went there for Model United Nations. Just gave us so much ability to trust each other. Just the fact that we crossed over by land, and just these extracurricular activities, whether it's dramatics, whether it's elocution, whether it's writing plays, whether it's doing organizing college fests or organizing events. uh, just the amount of exposure that it gave us on an ongoing basis, I think I would love to relive that again, and also have no responsibilities, I guess. Like I think I would love to live a year back in
Yeah.
college to just not give a shit about how the PNL stacks up the next month. I think that would be great.
Yeah, I agree with that. I keep saying I wish I never grew up
Yeah.
uh, for some of the responsibilities that are there. But I'm glad you spoke about the MUN because a lot of people we speak to have a very firm background in that.
Yeah.
And that seems to have taught them a lot, uh, which has helped them in their
Yeah,
journeys ahead.
it's a rather difficult thing to do, right? Like you're suddenly thrown into like a room full of 80 people with whom you need to break ice, you need to establish connections, you need to be able to convince them of your argument. It's a short span of time, and the amount of research that you've actually done, uh, like holds you really well in that room. So it's a great compact life lesson, and for me the second one has always been sport. So sports for me has always been the greatest life teacher. So I think, yeah, man, like if I could just go back and play sports and do extracurricular activities, I'd be the happiest boy in the world.
Yeah, I think I'd agree to both of them. That, that's something I'd love to do as well. Did you ever come for the DPS MUNs?
No, I did not
Back-
come for the
back in-
DPS MUNs, but I did come for LSR debate competition,
Yes, sir, man.
or the elocutions. They used to have these elocutions which were clubbed with the law fraternity as well. I don't remember what they were called, but I think I've come for those 2 times. Yeah, so SRCC and LSR both.
You mentioned SRCC. I'm from there,
Oh, right.
and I was recently speaking to students who said SRCC is now called Snakes and Rats College of Commerce because of the competition with an allusion to the board game. And I think this is a good way to end it, right? Where I was speaking to this girl who told me that, I was like, I never knew this was a full form now.
Right.
And she said, yeah, there's so much competition. Everybody is hustling. I don't know what to do. And she was visibly worried and confused and trying to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's this whole hustle culture today, right? What would your ending message be for all of them?
For this hustle culture, I think it's I think it's overrated in lots of ways, right? Of course, you need to be able to hustle in life. I mean, with the kind of competition and just alluding back to SRCC, I don't think I would have made it to any college if these were the kind of cutoffs ever. And I think that with this kind of competition, they've really taken away the fun and charm of just being a student and having some fun, which I think is is the last phase in your life where you're really that free and that you can have that kind of fun. So this hustle culture, I mean, hustling is an attitude, right? It's not a culture. Your ability to hustle is just your ability to remain calm in situations where most people will panic. Your ability to hustle is to just look through the bullshit when everybody is throwing fat at you, right? It's so many skill sets put together that it can never be a culture, right? You should have the ability to hustle, but your ability to hustle should not be the only ability you have. So whenever people talk about this hustle culture, they think that they just need to be able to hustle and everything else will fall in place. No, after hustling, you need to be able to put structure to things. You need to be able to put process to things. You need to be able to build from that ability to hustle. The hustle will probably get you through the gate, but it will never get you through the finish line. So it cannot be a culture. It's one attitude that you may be able to possess, or one skill set that you may be able to hone, but it cannot be everything. And that's what I have a problem with, people overusing hustle culture everywhere.
So hustling is an attitude, not a culture. Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us. This has been a really wonderful conversation.
Keep listening to the Back to Campus podcast on the Signal.co website, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or any of your preferred podcasting apps. This episode was hosted by Rajneil Kamath, produced by Priyanka Ganwani and Manaswini Tripathi, edited by Prasanjit Das.